So thank you for joining this, whether it's live or recorded. I wanted to spend some time explaining what IACT is. This was actually prompted by my wife, who has a very good idea of the things I do, but even she wasn't 100% what IACT was. So it becomes very difficult to maybe get other people to sign up for a training class if they're not sure what it is. So the purpose of this was to explain exactly what IACT is and what it's not, I guess, because there's quite a lot of other things in the mental health and wellbeing training sphere. So just to explain exactly where this fits in. So just a little bit about me, if you don't know me. I've been a health and safety professional since 2017. I'm Cert IOSH, which means I got a NEBOSH diploma. In around 2020, I became during the COVID pandemic, when actually there was actually quite a very good focus on people's mental health. I became a IACT Positive Mental Health and WELLbeing instructor, delivering this course online. There are other things I've done as well as part in my health and safety, my previous health and safety role around mental health. One is to deploy the HSE Management Standards Survey, which is a survey to measure levels of work-related stress, and then take action based on the results of that, where there are low scores. And we delivered that in multiple countries and languages, which this has never been done before, so it was groundbreaking. And then also, what came out of that was actually when you kind of looked at the HSE management standards, all these kind of triggers for poor mental health at work were worst case caused by the line manager, or a best case, the line manager was at least in a position to be able to influence those things. So then kind of thought, well, is there any training which kind of gives managers the knowledge and skills to be able to do this effectively? And the quick answer was no. So I went looking for some mental health and wellbeing training, looked through a few which really didn't fit the bill until came across IACT. And then IACT, we ended up then deploying that and not delivered all myself, but the course has been delivered through a network of trainers within a previous company I worked for, to over 1,000 line managers, or approximately 1,000 line managers in multiple different languages, again, which didn't exist prior to that program. So mental health is something that I've been very, very focused on, and something I'm very proud of. Um, I guess one of the reasons for that is a very personal reason. I had a mental health crisis in 2000, which completely turned my life upside down, which is kind of why I live where I live now, which is down in the south of England after growing up in Wales, in Cardiff. But that's the real reason that I'm very, very passionate about the subject. And on the right, it's just a few companies I work for. Although for the health and safety stuff, the mental health stuff, that was in my time at Edwards. With those other companies, it was more I was working as a quality professional. Anyway, enough about me. You didn't come here to learn more about me. So, what is IACT? It is mental health and wellbeing training, which is tailored specifically for line managers, employees in an organization. The overall aim of which is to improve both individual and therefore, if you improve everyone's well-being, workplace well-being is improved. It's accredited by the Royal College of Psychiatrists, which means everything which is in the books, and this is one of the books. This is the manager book. There is a green one, which is you can see on the slides. Everything in the book is credible information, or anything referenced from the book is credible information, rather than if you go searching on your favorite search engine, you may come up against a site which actually the information in there isn't very good. A bit like Dr. Riviera in The Simpsons, if you remember Dr. Riviera. This course is flexible, can be delivered online through Zoom, such as you're seeing today, or face to face as well. Like I said, it comes with this 168-page evidence-based manual, which can be referred to at any time as well, which is really useful. And I guess on the right-hand side, what you can see is what the acronym IACT means. So I stands for Improve Wellbeing. So this is basically the tool set within IACT. So improve wellbeing, lots of proactive self-care stuff in there. A is advocate, help and support. So all this is to do with signposting. help and support. Very lucky in the UK, we've got a lot of organisations which we can refer people to with a lot of free information, help and support. Um, it's not a totally proactive course. There is a part about connecting with people, so how to have a conversation with someone who's struggling with their mental health and get them the help and support that they need. And then, to be honest, I think for take tools and take advice or and advice, I think they just wanted to make a pretty acronym. So anything that didn't fit neatly into the other sections got put into T. So it made a nice acronym, which is IACT. This is taken directly from the course, just to give you a bit more insight to what you'll learn in the course. So these are the course objectives. So one is to give managers a greater understanding of mental health and wellbeing issues, and to be able to recognise when colleagues may need further help and support. Also, if you increase people's knowledge, you increase people empathy, and you reduce stigma. And if you can reduce stigma in the workplace, that's a great thing because then people will feel they can come forward when they're struggling, even if they don't feel they can do that in other, sort of parts of their life. There'll be a place at work where they can actually do that. Um, there's, like I said, there's lots of proactive tools in the course, and we cover a lot of that. I think there's over 50 tools in total, actually. Some of them proactive, some of them reactive, but the focus more on the proactive side. Like I said, there's a section about how you can connect with colleagues who may be experiencing a mental health and well-being issue. So there's information on when to connect and how to connect, which is very, very important. So people are able to open up, because it can be very, very, from my own personal experience, it can be really hard to talk about when your own mental health is, when you're struggling with your own mental health, it can be the hardest conversation you can ever have. So if you can make that conversation go as well as possible, make that person feel as supported and comfortable as possible, that's a win-win for everyone. And like I said, loads of stuff in the book on signposting as well. And obviously, this is from the course. It says, "Has your IAP book ready?" Because in the course, we refer to this book a hell of a lot. So, just want to explain how this differs with some other courses you might be aware of. Mental health first aid is the one that everyone tends to know. Now, mental health first aid it was a great course. It was put together originally with kind of intent that it was kind of a course for everyday life actually originally. So maybe you go to the bus stop, you sit down, you realize the person sitting next to you is struggling, and then mental health first aid was supposed to give you the skills to be able to spark up a conversation with that person and then help them, to give them the help and support they need, or at least signpost them towards the help and support they need. So it's meant for everyone. It kind of got adopted by businesses. um, but as you can see, by the very nature of what it is, a lot of the course is very much on reactive. So someone needs to be falling over or about to fall over, where mental health first aid kicks in. Now, the key difference with IACT is very much more, although we've got part of that reactive element in, and there's some crossover there, more of the course is focused on being proactive. Um, Want to try and ensure that people can look after their own well-being and their own mental health so they don't get to the point where they need a helping hand. They can, so it's very much more on prevention and proactive rather than reactive. And that's the key difference between the two courses. They are complementary. I have worked in organizations where someone with IAC training could escalate an issue to a mental health first aider if they didn't feel comfortable. So they are complementary, but they do have very different purposes. And with the speech bubble on the right, all I'm really trying to highlight there is it's kind of a wider issue, really. It's kind of, if you had a pure kind of physical health and safety strategy, which for example, you might have a workplace that's prone to lots of falls from height, maybe construction, and your health and safety strategy was, we'll just get a load of first aiders, so when people fall, we can react quickly and minimize the damage. That that is an awful strategy. And probably would end up, with civil litigation and criminal prosecution. For that kind of stuff, you'd expect to see risk assessments with controls from work at height and stuff like that, plus first aiders. But interestingly, with mental health, a lot of the strategies tend to be, we'll have mental health first aiders, which isn't sufficient. And there are things like mental health risk assessments that really every organization should be doing, and other training, which is other than just reacting to when people have potentially have a mental health crisis. It could have answered this question many different ways. Why is being proactive important? Um, but I've just kind of cut it in very much a financial way. There was a analysis done by Deloitte on the benefits of investing in a mental health program. So the thing I really want to point out there, so you think mental health first aid really operates in that reactive bit, and you get return on investment there, a good return on investment for doing that. But actually, you get high returns on investment when you look at proactive strategies. And IACT is largely focused on proactive tools around mental health. And you see the payback on that is more so on that. So for every £1 spent, £5 back. And then obviously you do both, you get the benefit of both, although they don't add up in the same way. You can probably look this up. You can definitely look this up, a summary of this analysis. So proactive, really does give you, I guess, more return on investment from a pure cold kind of financial reason. There's lots of, other reasons why you'd want to focus in on this. I guess the other one as well, and this is data from the Labour Force survey, the latest Labour Force survey, which is done every year. And there'll be a 24-25 one coming out soon. If you think what I mentioned before, we put a lot of effort in health and safety, in physical injuries and physical ill health, prevention of cancers and stuff like that, from carcinogenic substances or injuries, risk assessments, controls, procedures, inspections, whatever, the list goes on. But actually, if you look at the raw data, if someone's going to be off work, the longest they're going to be off work for is for stress, depression, or anxiety. And this is where we're very light in a lot of organizations. So again, if you've got very proactive strategies, you know, you're going to avoid hopefully people having to go off with stress, depression, anxiety, which is a win-win. It's really hard. If someone's got to the stage they can't work anymore, the road to recovery is really long. It really impacts on the person, and it also impacts on the organization as well. So being proactive I think, is incredibly key. So just a few tasters on stuff you'll learn in the IAC course, whether you do the employee course or the manager's course. So on the left-hand side, that poster there is really about anti-stigma campaigns. With the latest data as well, we're talking about 1 in 2 people in the world will develop a mental health disorder in their lifetime. I think there's a real light bulb moment with that statistic. You kind of realize, well, that's 50% of the people I know, 50% of my friends. And a lot of my friends might be suffering in silence because they don't want to say because of the stigma. And I think that's a real light bulb moment because as a human being, I want to be there to support, my friends, families, and colleagues, not have them suffer in silence. 5 steps to well-being. That again, that's another slide from the course. We go into that in some depth. And then also talk about some physical things that affect your mental health. There's a symbiotic relationship between um, the physical and the mental. In this case, it's talking about the legal drugs. Lots of people know about, sort of guidance around alcohol. The forgotten one is caffeine, and we talk about that in some depth in the course as well. So this is some feedback on the course, or more specifically, feedback from courses I've delivered. So just give you a little sound bites what people are saying about it. So on the left, Uh, this person was saying actually that they're going to be more aware now of some of the external factors that could cause problems for their team. The middle one actually is a massive change in how that manager managed. Actually, lots of employees or lots of their team not in the same country as them, and they realise they need to dedicate more one-to-one time so they can ask those questions in a safe space. How are you doing? And if you think about what that is, that's like 5 to 10 hours per week or even per month. This manager's looking to add, seeing the importance of this. Obviously, going to talk about work stuff as well, but the first question will always be, "How are you?" and maybe asking that question twice. So that's a real shift change in how that manager is managing. And that's going to feed into, being more proactive and hopefully catching when someone's struggling, but at the early stages of it, not at the late stages where, someone has to take time off. Maybe the first time they hear is when that person's taking time off work. And then on the right-hand side, and this goes to the reactive part of the course, this person is more confident in having a conversation when someone's struggling with their mental health, which again is a really, really big thing. And it's one of the reasons why actually I never deliver the short course. I always deliver Even the online course I always deliver with not pretty much the same length as the face-to-face course, because people always have questions, and if you do, in my experience, if you do the course in the short form, people don't have time for questions and therefore don't have the confidence then to maybe implement some of the tools they learn. So I've kind of got a policy of doing that. And also with the online course, I never fill the online course to its to maximum. Again, because I want people to feel confident to be able to talk and people feel more confident to ask questions in a smaller group for the online course. It's different with a face-to-face in a big room. It's a lot different. But for online, I tend to keep the course numbers or the delegate numbers small. So people do have the ability to be able to ask those questions. And we have longer to talk about some of these tools so people do feel confident when they leave the course. Um, Probably skip this one. Why not skip it? Maybe park it because I know some people are going to watch this recording. So, you have any questions, please ping me. You can ping me through the messaging on LinkedIn, or if you look at my website, there's an email there as well. And for other people who know me a bit better, we'll have my other contact details. There is a QR code. It's a very big QR code. Um, I don't know if it will be influenced by the delegate's trousers on the left. That might have a QR code on it by itself. But that QR code takes you to a course which is I'm delivering on the 30th of September. It's an online manager's course um, which you can sign up to if you just want to try the course. I obviously do in-house training. This is an in-house one I did for a previous company. You have to excuse the Christmas theme. This was one at Christmas. It was the best picture I could get. But if you wanted to have a try and see what this course did, then you can look at that. You don't have to be a manager, by the way, to do the manager course. It's just a slightly longer course with some manager tools in it. It's still got all the stuff that's in the employee course as well. But I think I'm going to stop sharing at this point. Stop the share. And I'd like to thank you for watching this recording. And please, if you do have any further questions, please let me know and I'd be more than happy to answer them.